Sunday night, 5 p.m. Central if you're a cool kid. And we're back with another episode of Sunday Night Scoreboard. Divisional Round edition for real this time. Last week I labeled it Divisional Round edition, even though it was the wild card round. But, this time it actually is. So, guys, how you doing? It's been a while, Joe.
Well, I guess it has been a while because you were preoccupied on Thursday night. So
well, you weren't here last Sunday, so we're even.
Whatever. I've been good, just chilling. Enjoyed watching some good football. Dramatic pause. Clack.
I don't know what was said. I was adding to the Google Doc. Been some good games, great games yesterday. I missed one of them. I saw one of them. Not much to say on that.
Man, my father is a lifelong Bengals fan, and so it was a great day for a Vikings turned Bengals fan yesterday. Beautiful day. So, as we always do, I think we should start with some non-game related stuff first. So, kind of want to talk about the coaching carousel that's going on real quick. That's really interesting to me, obviously, as a team that's smack dab in the middle of it. And D'Amico Ryans was it his first interview today?
It was his first interview.
Yeah, so he interviewed with us, the Vikings. He's 49ers defensive coordinator.
The Vikings.
Us, the Vikings. I'm an official spokesperson for the Vikings. But no, he had great game yesterday. His defense held the Packers and Aaron Rodgers to 10 points, which is incredible. And, of all the defensive guys, I've been pounding the table for an offensive-minded guy, but he would be the one defensive guy I'd be cool with just because he's young. I think he's 37. He clearly has a great defense. Like, Joe, I believe it was you talking about it beforehand, saying, he doesn't really have anyone on the defense, right, besides –
It was Clack. I'll give Clack credit.
It was Clack.
Sorry. It was Clack.
I'm not going to steal Thunder.
Yeah, he has Nick Bosa and then a bunch of late round picks that he's turned into a defensive juggernaut of a team. So,
I don't know. I think, the 49ers defense especially, and they were talking about this last week on the broadcast, Jim Nantz and Tony Romo were that the last 6 weeks of the regular season, they were the best defense in the NFL, and that's obviously continued last night. Aaron Rodgers was playing in his element. In the snow, that's exactly what Green Bay wants, and they absolutely dominated that game.
Yeah, it was really funny hearing the commentators talk about Aaron Rodgers prefers it in the cold. He feels like he's faster than everyone else as he's getting sacked over and over again, put up a massive 10 points the entire game.
Yeah, I think Aaron Rodgers would rather prefer playing on the West Coast or in a dome, and that's why I haven't looked at the Google Doc yet if we were talking about that, but okay. A little preview of my thoughts on that.
Yeah, and then so basically no one's been hired yet, and a lot of the good coaches were either playoff coaches or are still in the playoffs, right? So you're not gonna for the most part all the good coordinators are on winning teams. So I think there's a reason not a lot of coaches have been hired. But you look at the top commodities, right? You have Brian Dable, he's still coaching. Eric Bieniemy got his first interview finally with the Broncos. Both of the Cowboys coordinators were coaching up until this week. Basically every team is looking at guys that are still in the playoffs. But my question for you guys is, how do you feel about that? How do you feel about the fact that coaches can get interviewed while they're supposed to be preparing for the playoffs? Because I don't like it.
I agree. Can they get hired? They can't get hired, am I right?
No, they can't get hired, but they can mentally – they can agree
to
it
happens in college.
Yes. So I have strong thoughts on this because 2017, the last time the Vikings were competitive, we made the NFC Championship game. And our offense put up a whopping 7 points that game. And then the day after, our offensive coordinator, Pat Shurmur, got hired by the Giants to be the head coach. And so then it came out afterwards that he had already agreed to be the head coach of the Giants. He had basically mentally checked out. And I think that it's I don't think that teams need these extra 3 weeks with their coach, right? In the grand scheme of things, I think they should have to wait till after the team is at least eliminated from the playoffs, and I don't think you should be able to interview anyone until like their team's out at the minimum, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Also, quick score update. Mike Evans just scored a touchdown, so now it's 27-21. The NFL's rigged. Okay, let's continue.
Jalen Ramsey made a big show out of going like, I got Mike Evans, and then he just got burnt by him. So
You should have interfered on that play to prevent a touchdown, but
so I don't know who do you guys think are going to get hired, right? Like, this is my last question about coaches. What are some names? Throw me some names out there that you think are going to be at least like hot commodities around here, because it seems like the Broncos are leaning Dan Quinn, which is weird to me, but oh well. The Texans are just doing their own Texans thing. No one knows what they're doing.
Classic.
They want to hire like Josh McCown or something. So
I think D'Amico Ryans goes to the Vikings. I don't know why I see that one happening.
okay.
I hope so. I have, my gut tells me that a lot of it will just be the same old coaches that we've seen as NFL coaches, just getting recycled, and not as many of the younger guys. But I do hope we get to see like a D'Amico Ryans. But I talked about before this. I'm not the biggest Byron Leftwich guy. I think he's a little bit overrated because, you've got Brady and Evans and Gronk and Godwin. Like, it makes things pretty easy for your offense. So, I have a feeling it'll be the usual characters just moving
Like
around.
Raheem Norris and Todd Bowles.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like Todd Bowles apparently is in our list of favorites, which I just hate so much. And Raheem Morris apparently was a hot commodity. And then I don't get why you want to hire a defensive-minded head coach who's already proven that they're not a great head coach. Because they're a good leader. Okay, well, it doesn't matter if you're a good leader if your team sucks.
Right. You don't need it. The only reason some of these guys look good are because of the talent they have in front of them. You get these guys on a team that's not as talented like the Vikings, they're just going to fall flat.
Yeah, and Dan Quinn looked good when they had Micah Parsons being like the rookie of the year, a good defense. Todd Bowles looks good when he has the defense that won the Super Bowl last year.
Oh my goodness.
You can't make this crap up, dude. I don't understand how this is possible.
So the Rams just fumbled and the Bucks got the ball back, down 20-27.
I hate the NFL.
So
continue.
Yeah, do you guys want to talk about some games now? Let's talk about some games.
Yeah.
Unless there's something else you desperately wanted to talk about beforehand.
The NFL's rigged. that's.
Why don't we just start by talking about
how are you going to say that that's rigged, though? Like, how is him fumbling the ball rigged?
Well, it's not. I'm joking. It's not rigged. I do think that, if you're up by a lot, you're at a disadvantage. Or not there's a certain amount you can be up by where it's like, okay, you're fine. But I think these teams get so conservative with their play calling that, it's almost better to be down, a score 13 points or 10 points because that the other team is going to play, very conservative. And so I think we can talk about this game, what's happened so far, and because it's going down the wire here, and then we can talk about the other games if you guys want to do that.
Okay, real quick though, Spencer wanted to know: do y'all think that these coaching staffs that are losing at the NFL level would make a good college coaches? And I think, it depends from guy to guy. But you look at Nick Saban, for example, he was not a great NFL head coach. He's the best college coach of all time, and I think it just depends on what your strong suit is, right? If you're a good leader, but not great at roster construction, not great at, it kind of reminds me of Bill O'Brien. He was a fine NFL head coach, but he was good at Penn State, and he was a good he's a good leader, but then he got too many powers. He became a GM, then he became bad, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So obviously it depends on person to person, but I could see a lot of these, I don't know why they ever would go back down to the college level, like Dan Quinn or Todd Bowles or something like that. But I could see them being pretty successful head coaches, especially because they're defensive minded, which I think works a lot better in college than it does, in the NFL. But I don't know. What do you guys think?
It just depends on who you are. There's not very many Nick Sabans in this world. There's not any Nick Sabans in this world. You're not going to find another guy that's going to do what he did. So I don't necessarily think that's the case. I think 99% of the time you're a bad coach in NFL, you're going to be bad in college.
Yeah, I agree, 100%.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess I am kind of contradicting my own point, which is like, why would you hire retreads when they've already proven they're not great? I do think it's just the NFL is a different skill set. So if they've proven that they're bad in college, then they're bad in college. But until they like take over a college team, I don't think you can. Like, I think it wouldn't be the worst hire for a program looking to turn themselves around to hire like an established NFL guy that has no college experience. But the thing is, I don't think a lot of these people would go back to college when they're already at the top level. So yeah, let's talk about the Rams-Bucs game. It's going on right now. 20-27. Bucs just got the ball back, trailing. It was, what was it, 20-3 at halftime?
Yeah, it was 27-3 just like 10 minutes ago.
So the Rams are absolutely dominating, and then now they've had multiple fumbles. There was one sequence where the Bucs fumbled the ball, and then the Rams next play snapped it over Matt Stafford's head, and then the Bucs
Like
got it
25
back.
yards.
Yeah.
So what are you guys' initial impressions? Like, do you think that the Rams defense was that good, that Tom Brady was struggling so bad? Or
Well, I think a lot of it's having Tristan Wirfs on that offensive line.
Yeah, but I mean, we saw the Bengals give up 9 sacks, and God, I don't know why I'm blanking on who they played.
The Titans.
Yeah, the Titans shot themselves in the foot so many times that they lost the game. That's exactly what we're seeing. Hopefully the Rams don't end up losing this game. That's exactly what we're seeing here, is these NFL teams just completely imploding. And the Packers did it a lot too as well. That's if there's a common theme from all the games I've watched this weekend, is the team that's favored to win and is the higher seed is just straight up imploding for whatever reason. Because the Packers, if after that first drive last night when the Packers scored, I was like, oh, this is just going to be a long game for the 49ers. And then the offense sputtered. The defense played well, but the offense couldn't get things going. And obviously they had the missed field goal or the blocked field goal, 2 blocked field goals, right? Or a blocked punt.
It was a blocked punt and a blocked field goal, yeah.
Yeah,
the punt led to a touchdown too.
I don't understand, they have one of the worst special teams in the NFL, but I don't understand what the deal is with these teams just full on imploding at the very end when all they have to do is play how they've been playing the whole game.
On a personal level, I don't like that the Bucs defense started playing well because that means the Todd Bowles rumors might be more true. But also, like, you can't give Tom Brady.
I was just gonna say Todd Bowles, I think, is a horrible NFL coach. I think he's best suited as a defensive coordinator.
What did he even coach at the Jets?
Yeah, he was on the Jets for a while with and they were not great. But it's just you can't keep giving Tom Brady opportunities, right? Yeah. I mean, I know he hasn't looked great this game, but he's still Tom Brady. He still led the league in passing this year. So, like, every time you turn the ball over as the Rams, you're giving Tom Brady another shot to tie the game up.
Right.
What do you guys think about Von Miller?
Real quick, it's 3rd and 10. The Bucs are on like the 15, and they're down 7 with a minute 15 left. Von Miller, I think he looks a lot faster out there. He looks like a little bit smaller, like he's cut weight a little bit so that he can be more speed. Because for a while, I feel like he was more of like a dominant bull rusher, but he looks good the last
first and goal.
Yeah, first and goal.
So I don't know, because when they made the trade, I thought he was going to be huge next to Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey, and then he was kind of quiet his first couple of weeks, but he's been coming alive. I know he forced a fumble on Tom Brady, and
yeah, he did.
That was the fumble that immediately got turned over again. But I don't know. What do you think happens to Tom Brady if they lose this game? Do you think he retires?
No.
I think he could. I wouldn't be really all that surprised if he wins this game. I know for a fact, though, if they lose this game, if they win this game and they go on to win a Super Bowl, I think he 100% retires.
Really? Wow.
I don't know. Because Tom Brady, to me,
we always say, how much longer can we do this? We've been saying that for a while, but he is 44 years old, and he's had a great NFL season. But I think he kind of sees the writing on the wall a little bit and knows that his body – he's not getting any younger. So if you're Tom Brady, you'd be stupid not to go out on top if they ended up winning it all this season.
So to me, I don't know. Like Tom Brady just seems like the type of guy that would want a farewell tour, in my opinion. So I see him coming back one more year, saying like, "This is my last year, definitively."
I
And,
actually
like,
feel like the complete opposite about him. I feel like he's just like, if they
he's
won the
just gonna
Super
be
Bowl,
like, "I'm done."
he would just say, "Okay, I'm done."
I don't know. I that's what Roger. That's Rodgers to me. Like I could completely see Aaron Rodgers retiring. He just seems like kind of done with football, in my opinion. Like
Yeah,
you
I
could
could
tell
also
all
see that.
year he never looks like he's enjoying football, but he especially didn't look like he's enjoying football. But I could see Brady. Like in my opinion, he comes back one more year, announces like, "Hey, this is my last year," and then sees it out.
Yeah, well, I guess it would also put the Bucs in a crappy position too because they'd have to scramble to figure out what they want to do at quarterback. I mean,
They
they
still have
got
Josh Rosen.
yeah, they got Kyle Trask
Or is he on
too,
the
don't they?
Oh,
Yeah,
Lord.
draft Kyle Trask. You're right.
But I don't know.
So how do you guys feel about Matt Stafford like being in the playoffs and finally got his first playoff win?
Can we answer this after this game?
No.
Well,
like right
no,
now,
I mean they're not going to
team.
get the. I don't think. I think Matt Stafford's played well all year.
He's played very well this all postseason.
I hate the announcer narrative too. Like they've been talking about it, even though he won last week. Like just this week, it's the same theme about them saying, "Well, you know how Matt Stafford is in the playoffs," and it's just
Didn't he make the playoffs like once his career?
He's
before
been
this?
on the but he's been on the Lions, so like you can't knock the guy for that. He's always played well with what he's had.
Yeah,
and I don't know. I wish he would have came to the Washington because I know they pursued him hard in the offseason. But also, like, I understand why he wouldn't want to play for the worst owner in all of sports, aka Mr. Daniel Snyder.
Agreed.
Then what about Cam Akers? I mean, Derrick Henry had the big return this week. Cam
Fumbled
Akers
it twice.
Yeah,
And
so Cam Akers had a big game last week in his first game back.
He's always had an issue too with fumbling it. Like, I don't know. It stinks too because he's a great running back. He's shifty, but if you can't hold on to the ball, and you're going to cost your team pretty much the game, which he's almost done here, makes it challenging.
So it's going to be 4th and 1 for Tampa.
We might as well just sit here
and we're all three focused on the game as we're trying to do a show here.
Yeah, well, we'll give after this game's over. It's just hard to be dialed in.
What about? All right, so what about OBJ? How do you think he's done since being traded to the Rams?
He's been amazing. It's been
and there's
how do you miss that tackle?
Wow. You had him down behind the line of scrimmage and you don't make the tackle.
Anyways, I think Odell's been good for them. It's kind of refreshing to see him get the chance to succeed. And definitely Stafford's the best quarterback he's ever played with. I mean, you're talking about a guy that's played with Eli Manning and Baker Mayfield. So, yeah, I'm sure he's really happy to have Matt Stafford as his quarterback. And he's much like Von Miller. He's been on a hot streak lately. So,
yeah, I don't know. I think that he's been a lot better and he works a lot better with Matt Stafford than he does with Baker Mayfield. But I don't know. It's just weird to me that like Baker kind of struggled to get on the same page with him so much, and then Matt Stafford is able to come in and immediately,
Well, but also too, it helps when Odell's the number one guy on the Browns, but it helps when you've got Cooper Kupp and Van Jefferson and all these other guys to take the attention off of you.
I mean, yeah, but at the same time, like everybody thought he was the problem. The whole problem in Cleveland's Baker, not Odell. Like Odell's proven that. I mean, day one in LA.
You think it's like definitively on Baker? Because I think it's a little bit of both. I think they just didn't mesh, and I think that's okay. I don't think it has to be
maybe not, but I mean, Baker without him was no better.
Yeah, but also, I don't know. Like I'm higher on Baker. I don't think he's a complete, bust. He's not great, but also he was trying to tough out an injury this year. He probably should have just let Case Keenum take over. But
yeah, I think Baker too could benefit from like a change of scenery as well. I mean,
where do you think would be a good
Cleveland's they made the playoffs last year, but they've always had this like weird like aura around them of like just negativity and insaneness, which is kind of the pot calling the kettle black for me as a Washington fan, but still, I don't know. It's just tough for sure.
So Spencer said, so y'all are blaming the Tennessee loss on Derrick Henry? Absolutely
No,
not at all.
not at all.
It's definitely on Ryan Tannehill.
Yes, and on Mike Vrabel using him too much.
I think that game goes to show, like, you can have an incredible defense and all these things, to play in your favor. But if you don't have a good quarterback, it makes it tough.
Well, even then, if you're going to base your team around running the ball, playing defense, and having a game manager quarterback, you can't have a guy managing the game by throwing 3 interceptions, right? Like,
yeah.
It's just,
I mean, I wasn't expecting Derrick Henry to go out and have an insane game. I mean, he played pretty well. But when you have A.J. Brown and Julio Jones, like, you should be able to put up more than 16 points. And Derrick Henry.
Yeah, I'm
3 picks is just it's inexcusable. 1 pick is like, okay. 2 picks is like, dude, what are you doing? 3 picks is like this is an issue. Like, they need a quarterback. And I looked at his stats this year because I was curious. And overall, I mean, his stats are that good. He had double-digit interceptions. Like, just did not play well all year, and that stinks for that team.
You would think that Mike Vrabel would go in knowing you got your best running back in the game, use him, and they did not use him enough. I mean, like, come on, and even like, how many targets did A.J. Brown even have?
I don't know, but he had 4. He had 4 catches, I know, but they were like 40, 30, and 25 yards.
Wow. I mean, that's just –
the thing with Ryan Tannehill is he was never meant to be, in my opinion, never meant to be a franchise quarterback. I felt like he was always meant to be this kind of stopback quarterback. But that they saw him do okay, and they're like, okay, we'll just roll with him. And, they win all these regular season games, and that's great. No, but once you get to the playoffs, you need a good quarterback. And San Fran got lucky last night with Jimmy Garoppolo, but he didn't play all that well. I mean, there's a reason why Mahomes –
oh, my gosh. What a play.
Okay, yeah, that was actually insane. There's a reason why Mahomes, Stafford, Rodgers, he didn't play that well. Brady, like, there's a reason why the elite quarterbacks, the upper echelon quarterbacks in the NFL are the ones that are in the playoffs.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we could take a break. I know I said we should focus on the show, but the Rams just launched a 40-yard pass and got it down to the 10-yard line. They're going to spike it, attempt a game-winning field goal.
This game is drunk.
This is
unfortunately, I'm not.
So Matt Stafford just put his team in place to win the game. So
like we were talking about Stafford.
Yeah, Matt Stafford's he had 2 clutch throws there in like a 30-second drill. So
I love this. I would love the narrative to be changed about Stafford too.
Here we go.
Please make this. I want $20 for my dad.
Wow.
Yes. Thank you.
Wow.
All right. So Rams win.
The Rams win, but man, I would celebrate this win for like a couple hours, and then I'd be like, listen, guys.
Yeah.
Cam Akers, I'm sorry. Next week, okay, so they'll play the Niners. They'll have home field advantage. So they'll play the Niners at home. I don't know what you do this week with Cam Akers. I 4 fumbles overall as a team, but 2 from him. I think next week, though, you go into the game and you let Sony Michel get a bulk of the carries, and then maybe you because Sony Michel was doing well for them.
Yeah.
What happened to Henderson?
I think he's still banged up. But the thing is with him, it was like, okay, Sony Michel's been really well, and he's like down the stretch really helped us win a lot of games. And then they're like, okay, but Cam Akers is healthy now, so we're going to give him all the carries. And Cam Akers is a great running back. Like I said earlier, but if you keep fumbling it, it's hard to get on the field. So I hope that I'm not saying to bench Cam Akers, but I think next week you have to give a bulk of the carries to Sony Michel.
No,
he's having success and he's not fumbling.
No,
so there's no reason not to play him.
Joe, I agree with everything you just said, but I think the key, if you're the Rams, the key to winning is one person. That's Cooper Kupp. I mean, Cooper Kupp, and I'm gonna get a little bit of flack for saying this, and I almost said this in the group message earlier. Cooper Kupp, right now, this is not a collaboration of before. This is just as of now only. Right now, Cooper Kupp is the best receiver in the NFL. I don't see I don't see where I'm wrong on that. Like, I've gotten into some trouble on Twitter for saying someone's the best receiver in the NFL, but like Cooper Kupp is the biggest difference maker for this team right now.
Oh,
It's hard.
I disagree with that.
It's hard
But-
not. Yeah, I disagree with that too.
I
No, actually, I don't.
Oh, I was going to say Aaron Donald, but
Okay, Aaron Donald, yes, but I mean, Aaron Donald doesn't score points.
You know who's a difference maker for this team?
you're going to say Matt Stafford.
Matt Stafford.
Sean McVay.
I mean, Aaron Donald is the best player in the NFL, but
Yeah.
I mean, like, I don't agree with Joe's. I agree with what Joe says, but I also think I don't think you're necessarily going to run through Cam Akers or through Sony Michel. I think the Rams winning or loss is going to come down to Cooper Kupp and Matt Stafford, not a running
But
back.
here's the thing: if they don't have Matt Stafford out there to throw Cooper Kupp those long deep balls, you think
Okay, I get
Jared
what you're
Goff's still
saying.
there?
I get what you're saying, Joe, but I mean, it's the same with the receiver in the league. If they don't have the quarterback, they're not going to be where they are.
I'm not taking anything away from Cooper Kupp, but there's a reason why the Rams traded to get Matt Stafford, because they knew that they needed a quarterback. And if they got to the Super Bowl with Jared Goff and realized that, hey, he wasn't very good and we need to upgrade the position, and they got aggressive and went out and got Matt Stafford. And that's why we're about to see them play in the NFC Championship again, and why I think they'll end up winning the Super Bowl this year is because they have Matt Stafford.
So I just want to point out real quick that we've had 3 divisional round games, and all 3 of them have ended on game-winning field goals with 0 seconds left on the clock.
NFL's rigged.
I mean, so you know what to expect with Chiefs Bills. But
It's not going to a field goal.
You wouldn't have said that about the 49ers Packers either.
Well,
But I think
we love kickers.
I kind of agree with what you're saying, Clack, in that the 49ers, you look at their weakness on defense, right? D'Amico Ryans has done a great job, but they're on their 4th string cornerbacks over here because of injuries, and their corners weren't great to begin with. That was always the weak spot. So if you can get Cooper Kupp and Odell Beckham Jr. to kind of abuse these cornerbacks, I think that's your shot at putting up some points on the defense. You look at one of the big problems I think that the Packers had last night was that I saw a throw chart and okay, I get it. It's freezing cold and it's snowing. There was a chart charting Aaron Rodgers' throws, and pretty much I think there was one single throw that was past 5 yards down the field. It was insane how many quick throws he had.
Here's another thing I've noticed with the Packers is two things. One, their offensive line has always been suspect. That's been the one issue for Aaron Rodgers, is having offensive line. But 2, and I did not see all this game because I was driving back from Alabama basketball. The problem with the Packers is they want it seems like everything is a target for Devontae Adams. They're determined to go to Devontae Adams no matter what, and that bites them in the ass sometimes.
Yeah, they just double teamed Adams and Cobb every important down, and then left Lazard and their 3rd string tight end or whatever wide open.
Yeah,
And,
I mean that's the thing. Oh no, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, and then you saw on 4th down they did it every time. They just double teamed Adams and Cobb, and then for 3rd down it was a sack almost every single time.
Yeah, I mean, and nobody's gonna argue against the fact that Devontae Adams is one of the best receivers in the NFL. But if you look at all these other teams, they have compliments. I mean, Tyreek Hill is complimented by Travis Kelce. Deebo Samuel is complimented by Kittle, or vice versa, however you want to see it. You can't just have – I mean, Washington, my team, I hate to keep bringing them in, is Terry McLaurin's amazing, but they don't have anybody else really to throw it to. So it's just tough to see this, because the Packers have done a horrible job of helping Aaron Rodgers out. I mean, they'll get guys like Amari Rodgers and Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and he'll make the most – Alan Lazard, he'll make the most with those guys, but at some point, I would love to see them go out and get a Jamison Williams or something. But, I mean, who knows if Adams and Rodgers are even going to be there next year. I don't think they will be.
Yeah, so this is one thing I did want to talk about, and I been kind of following this a little bit because, I don't like the Packers. So before any contract extension, so you have free agents, right? You have Devondre Campbell, you have Zadarius Smith, you have Devontae Adams, you have Aaron Rodgers with his weird opt-out thing that they agreed to, right? Where he could be. So you have all these guys that are very key pieces to your team. They're $50 million over the cap right now, like for next season, before extending anyone. That's before signing any new contracts. That's just with what they have right now. So, like that's just what they're going to owe people next season. So their team is going to get gutted, right? Like it's going to look very different next year. Could they be good? Sure. But Aaron Rodgers came out and said after the game, I don't want to be a part of a rebuild. I don't think he comes back. And I think Devontae Adams probably goes to, I don't know, like Vegas, maybe? That's what I think. Reunites with his college quarterback.
With Aaron Rodgers.
We can get to this before or after their ad, whenever you want to get to it.
After it.
Yeah.
All right. So, yeah, real quick, we have a message from our partner, Super Draft Pro. So we will be back in a minute.
Hey, it's Jacqueline from the CTS Sports Room, coming to you from my car. Because it's Christmas time, and my house is full of people, and I told them I was going grocery shopping, but really, I just needed a break. So I downloaded this new app that we just partnered with. It's Super Draft Pro. It is the future of fantasy sports. And you can play for cash, prizes, and experiences that money can't buy. Like the peace and quiet I'm getting right now. You can play for free, or you can get their non-gambling subscription. Either way, you can still win cash and prizes. If you want more information, my friend Kyle Murray is going to tell you about it.
It's not easy being the fastest quarterback you've never seen. I'll be right back. There's no quicker way to get into DFS. Play Super Draft today and see for yourself.
Super Draft Pro and Caesars Entertainment are bringing you the future of fantasy sports. So, if you want to play like a champion or need a break from the family, download Super Draft Pro today. Play like a champion. Information will be in the link below.
Thank you to our partner, Super Draft Pro. We have the link in the description for YouTube if you're on YouTube, or we have it right
YouTube.
Here if you want to go check it out. So,
Okay.
Clack, you were going to bring something up before we went.
I have a really good question. So here's the thing.
Okay.
Obviously, both. I mean, I think it's very. I would say right now, based on last night, it's about 70 or 80%. Rodgers and Adams are both not on Green Bay next year. Am I right? Y'all agree with that?
I think so. Yes.
Okay. Here's my thing.
I don't blame either one of them for wanting to leave.
Here's my question.
Yeah.
I have two questions. And now I have multiple questions on this.
Okay.
One,
A lot of questions.
is there a team out there that can line up and be like, oh, we can snag both of these guys? Is there a team out there that can grab? I mean, you get both of these guys, you're going to be deadly, especially if you get them out of Green Bay, get them in a better environment, better offensive line. They're going to be deadly. I think either LA or Denver. Somebody out west.
I will agree with the West team. I'd say Vegas because they don't know what they're doing with Derek Carr, and they need a number one receiver, right? And there was lots of rumors that apparently Devontae Adams. I don't know if it was just Adams wants to go to Vegas specifically to reunite with Derek Carr because they played, college ball together, but there was already rumors linking them. And then if they just decide they want Rodgers instead of Carr. I mean, it's not easy, but it's doable for them.
My second question is this. Sorry, Jeff, go ahead.
I was going to say, for me, it's two teams, maybe a third. So, like Tyler said, I think Vegas makes a lot of sense because they don't know what they're doing with Carr. Rodgers is from California. Adams is from California. It would just make a lot of sense for them to team up and go there. And then, obviously, with whatever new coach they decide to get, I'm sure it'll be a big name guy, maybe like a Harbaugh or something, or somebody along those lines. And then also the second team, I would have to say, which is going to surprise a lot of people, would be the 49ers. I mean, Aaron Rodgers grew up a 49ers fan. They passed on him. We've all heard that story. If they could find a way to I don't know if they would be able to get Adams and Rodgers, but get Rodgers specifically, if they can find a way to dish out Garoppolo and then, or what's his contract situation? He's got like a year left.
He's a free agent next year.
This is his last year.
Okay, so trade him and then keep Lance, or maybe trade them both or something. But if they have a chance to get Aaron Rodgers, I think they'll do it. And correct me if I'm wrong, but this offseason, or was it last offseason, they made a push to get him, and Mike LaFleur was a little pissed because Mike Shanahan and him are good friends, and he kind of went behind his back to try and get Rodgers. And then the third team that I would love to see this happen, just because to go from Drew Brees to Aaron Rodgers would be pretty cool, and playing in a dome. I think Aaron Rodgers is done playing the cold. I think that's done. But yeah, those would be my three teams. The Raiders, maybe the Saints, and in a crazy world, the 49ers.
Well, I agree with you. I agree with you on that, Joe. But here's the thing, and this is something that we were going to bring up later in the show, is Sean Payton is. I mean, there's a shot that Sean Payton is not back. I think the only reason Aaron Rodgers goes to the Saints is if Sean Payton is still there.
Why would Sean Payton not be there? I saw that come out today, and no, those are rumors. He has there's no reason for him to leave. All they need to do is get an actual quarterback that's not Taysom Hill or any of these other guys that they have on the roster currently, and they'll be fine. Payton's gonna be there. There's no reason for him to leave. So that's out of the equation.
Speaking of coaches, since this is just something that comes to my mind, if Rodgers and Adams leaves, does that end Matt LaFleur's career in Green Bay?
No.
He's a 39 and 6 or something.
Yeah, not immediately.
I mean, yeah, he is 39.
But do I think it puts the pressure on him, and if they don't do well, he could be fired a couple of years from now? Yeah, but I think it's ridiculous to be get fired. Yeah, but you're not gonna go out on a limb and say, "Oh, this guy sucks." He was only.
I don't mean right now.
Okay, you got to specify that when you say that.
I mean, does this change? I mean, right now,
it puts a lot of pressure on him.
It takes away from that. Oh, he's a top 3 coach in the league, especially when it seems like the players don't want to play for him. Which
I think that'll get sorted out one way or another. I mean, if both those guys leave and they're still competing, then he's a good coach. But if they leave and they suck, then, I mean, that puts the pressure on him.
Agree.
But it's too early, so.
I don't think you can write him off yet. He got really lucky, got a great situation to start his career, but I don't think you can fault him for winning, right? I think that if he, severely underperforms with Jordan Love or whoever the next quarterback for Green Bay is, then you can start to say, okay, Aaron Rodgers carried him to his record that he did. But I don't know. So what other game? I mean, we never really talked that much about the Titans-Bengals one. I kind of want to circle back to that for a little bit. My question is, you kind of mentioned it, Clack, when you said they didn't use Derrick Henry. The Bengals have one of the worst run defenses in the league, and yet they didn't just feed the ball to Henry, or Foreman looked good too when he touched it.
Well, I kind of also want to ask one thing, Julio Jones was the best receiver in the NFL his whole time in Atlanta, and now he comes to Tennessee, and it's
well,
I mean, he was a top 3 receiver. You can't argue that.
I'm not arguing that. Continue, and I'll tell you what I'm arguing with.
Okay. I mean, I get he was injury riddled, yada yada yada, but I mean, Henry Jones,
Henry Toa,
Julio Jones.
Oh my God, Clack.
I'm having a rough time here.
This has been a consistent theme for you. You need to stop drinking before shows.
Anyway, I mean, Julio Jones did not have a Julio Jones year. The whole offensive system in Tennessee is just a little not good.
I wonder, because they have Ryan Tannehill as their quarterback, so they're limited in what they can do.
What if Russell Wilson to the Titans?
I would love to see that happen, but I don't think it's going to. Another thing I saw would be Tua to the Titans. I think that would be awesome. All the Alabama fans would love that, because most of them are Titans fans already, or a good percentage of them. But I think for Julio, he's had his worst year, but he's having to fight through 2 nagging injuries like that, and then also dealing with the Voldemort word we don't say on here. Having to deal with that as well is just a lot to handle. So I think that was a problem. But he was back yesterday. I mean, he was healthy. He just had Ryan Tannehill trying to throw him the ball. So,
hey, I would like to – I know we are the Sunday night scoreboard, but I will throw this out there because it is breaking news. Georgia wide receiver who had a touchdown in the championship, I believe, Jermaine Burton, has officially committed to Alabama.
Ooh, that's huge.
I don't know where he fits in with all the other guys because he's
Starting
not.
X or Y.
I mean, that's just still. I mean, it kind of goes to something that Joe and I were talking about on Thursday. Like, who's that receiver going to be? We just got that guy who can step up. But anyway,
well, a guy that's got experience. Yeah, I just saw that. That's awesome. I mean, he didn't have a crazy good year, but we can all agree that Bryce Young is better than Stetson Bennett. So maybe that elevates him to a whole nother level as well.
I don't know. Bryce Young didn't win the national championship.
Okay, well
Stetson Bennett did.
Bryce Young is better than Stetson Bennett. We can all say that.
I mean,
Tyler, who won the Heisman?
Just messing with you.
Okay, I can't tell. I can't tell because you were frozen on my screen and you were just making this face. And I was like, man, he's holding that face for a while.
I don't know. I think the Titans show my problem with the run first kind of offense in the NFL, in the modern NFL.
The Mike Zimmer.
Yes. Obviously, I have a big problem with that. They are the Vikings, but more successful. But still, then you see when it comes to a big game, they put up, what was it, like 16 points or something against the defense that isn't great because they weren't able to air the ball out at all. And my biggest problem with this, right? I've always had a problem with run first teams because unless you're the 49ers who have some godlike defense every year for some reason for the past couple of years, they get creative with it. They're not the standard grind it out. They mix in a lot of trickery. They have some creative plays. They're probably my favorite run first offense, but they're not built to come from behind, right? You look at the Ravens. They had such a good record with Lamar Jackson, but then there was that stat, right, where Lamar Jackson had never come back from a 10-point deficit or something like that in a game for his first 2 years. And it's just those type of teams are great when your defense plays lights out and you take an early lead and you can just run out a bunch of clock. But when you're down, some points and then you have to rely on throwing it and you're not you're not a throwing offense, then you just throw, 3 interceptions like Ryan Tannehill did.
Yeah, no, that's true.
You have to have a lot more go right, in my opinion, than you do if you play a Bucks or a Rams. So for the Bucks, for example, they had 3 or 4 turnovers and were getting shut out all game, but they're an air raid type team and they were able to almost come back. They actually tied it up. And then Matt Stafford led a great drive to win it. Another pass first team.
I think a lot of that goes back to something that Joe preaches on every week, and I actually agree with him, is getting too conservative. You can never get too conservative. I don't care if you're up 27-0. You still run your same pass plays.
Well, it's problematic, too, when you're running these.
Unless you're trying to run clock out, you don't get conservative. It's just stupid.
It is problematic, too, when you're one of these teams that has built up a big lead, and you rely on the running game because they know the other team knows what you're going to do the rest of the game. You're still going to try to run it to be conservative and bleed the clock out. So, I mean, that's why sometimes we see these pass-heavy teams are able to overcome the deficits is because you're getting chunk yardage when you're passing. But if you're the Titans or one of these teams that relies so heavily on the run and you're up by a lot, you can bet your bottom dollar that the other team's going to get close to winning the game or have at least an interesting comeback.
Yeah, but it goes to another thing. I'm thinking to me, I know I'm trying to think how I said this. To me, used to there was passing and running were about equal. It was about. Sorry, I was distracted by the Josh Allen running. Used to it. Right now, quarterbacks in the league are better than they have ever been before. This has become a pass-heavy league. Used to you would see a mixed dose of 55% pass, 45% run. Now you're seeing 80, 20, 75, 35. Tom Brady had almost 50 passes.
That's 110.
What did I say? 55 and 35?
He says 75, 35.
I mean, I agree with you, though. If you look at these teams, and I a long time ago did a podcast on this, the teams that typically have the featured running backs, your Derrick Henry, your Saquon Barkley's, your Ezekiel Elliott's, your Alvin Kamara's.
McCaffrey.
Yeah. I mean, the list goes on, and you rely a lot on those guys for your carries. Those are usually the teams that rely on the running more, and it's harder to win games when teams know you're just going to run. I mean, Jonathan Taylor, it's a perfect example. And it's not to say that those guys aren't going to have success, because they're going to have games that they go off and, everything goes right. But if you can't throw it and, you have Ryan Tannehill or Carson Wentz or, Jameis Winston as your quarterback, you can't throw the ball. You have to be able to throw the ball in this league. This is a throwing league now. And those teams like the Chiefs, the Bills, even the Packers, like, they have a stable of running backs. They don't just have one guy that gets all the carries. And that's why they're so successful, because they're
I agree. And, like, quarterback heavy teams like, the Rodgers and Jones mix is a heck of a better mix. I mean, I'd rather be quarterback heavy than running back heavy. Like the Packers, you got A-Rod, and then you got Jones. That's a great 1-2 mix. Or, Mahomes and Edwards-Helaire. Like, I'd much rather have a top-tier quarterback than a top-tier running back. You're not going to have both.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I just mean, like, the Chiefs, they use McKinnon, Edwards-Helaire, like, that running back that went to Alabama. And then the Bills, they have Singletary and Moss. And Green Bay has A.J. Dillon, and they have Aaron Jones. Like, you're gonna have a tough time winning games when you're just relying on Saquon, Kamara, Zeke,
running.
McCaffrey. The list goes on.
I think it all comes back. Like, running the ball is easier to prepare for a running team than a passing team.
Yeah, exactly.
Because there's so many ways you can get beat by the air. There's so many different guys that can beat you. There's only one guy that can beat you running the ball.
Yeah, and to you guys' point, like, who's the best running back left in the playoffs? Like, Joe Mixon, right? That's the only team I can think of that has, like, a one guy. All the other teams have, like, a running back by committee type thing going on.
Speaking of Joe Mixon, since we're still on the Titans-Bengals games, I'm gonna bring this up. Can we, like, acknowledge that the Bengals are the kings of the NFL draft? I even saw something about this on Twitter yesterday. We talked about Jamar Chase multiple times. You also got a clutch kicker in Evan McPherson. Like, and everybody was like, dogging them because they picked a kicker. The Bengals are draft kings. And
well, they also lucked out because they got Burrow. We knew Burrow was going to be pretty good. He had a pretty good rookie year. Then he tears his ACL. They suck the rest of the year and luck into a top 5 pick and can get Jamar Chase. But I mean, some of those other guys they've found later in the draft. They got T. Higgins, and I think in the second round a couple years ago, and Tyler Boyd as well was like a 3rd round pick. But I don't know how much further they can really go with an offensive line that's giving up 9 sacks, because let's say they play the Bills. The Bills have one of the best defenses in the NFL. They're going to get after Joe Burrow and that makeshift offensive line. And then if they play the Chiefs, it's the same thing. I mean, the Chiefs are physical, and I don't know. It's just going to be tough for them. I like the Bengals and what they've done in the draft, but I don't know. They should not have. They had no business winning yesterday. Props to them for finding a way to win.
I disagree.
Giving up 9 sacks is.
But you gotta admit, they went from 2-14 to
but
AFC Championship.
But also, the argument that they should have drafted like Sewell over Chase is kind of stupid now. And a lot of people yesterday were like, "See, this is why you should have." But then it's like, no, because Jamar Chase has had 2 100-yard receiving games in his first 2 NFL playoff games, and is part of the reason why they're so good. They'll draft a lineman this year. Like, they'll figure it out. It's just, it's something they're going to have to go through. And
the Bengals are the prime example of how you build a franchise right now.
But also, like I said, you don't usually get the top quarterback in the draft and then luck out and get the best receiver and a top 5 pick the next year. That's not always how it works. They got lucky in that regard.
Also, going kind of against what you said, their offensive line is bad, and that's going to be a weak point. But they just won a game against the top seed in the AFC while giving up a record number of sacks. Like, they always say it's only uphill from here. I don't think they give up 9 sacks again next game, no matter who they're playing. So the fact that they were able to pull out that win just shows like what type of team they are and how they kind of have that. They have that attitude of like to them, right? They have that. They carry themselves kind of differently, and I think that Joe Burrow brought that. And then like you saw, I'm sure Evan McPherson, like after the game, Joe Burrow was talking about he was warming up and he did like his warm-up kicks, and then he like walked in, like as he walked by Joe Burrow, he said, "Looks like we're going to the AFC Championship game." Like getting guys like that is just, I think, a huge part, like Clack was saying, about why they're so good. I don't know.
Yeah,
and also Tennessee's defense is phenomenal, and I think you could say that they have one of the top 3 defensive lines or top 5 in the NFL. So,
yeah,
I mean, they've done the offensive lines. We can crap on them for yesterday, but they've done pretty well all year, and it is refreshing to see a new team like the Bengals make it as far as they have been.
Well, actually, speaking of that, I think it was Adam Schefter tweeted out, this is the first time in 12 years that Brady and Rodgers both won't be in the conference. Like neither of them will be in the conference
I
championship.
like that, dude. I mean,
I do too.
We've got the Bengals, and obviously you're going to have the Chiefs and the Bills. That's just how it is because they have 2 young quarterbacks that are blowing out.
But
then
even
you
the
get
Bills.
that's true. And then you get Stafford with the Rams too. And one thing we haven't talked about that my dad brought up earlier was just imagine the Rams playing the Super Bowl in their own stadium. Like this is the first year too, right? They've had the stadium.
It'll be the second year in a row that there's been a home team with the Super Bowl.
I mean, that's just I think that's awesome. So I'm excited about that. I'm rooting for the Rams because I was rooting for the Packers initially, and then they lost, and I'm rooting for the Rams because my dad likes them.
And if the Chiefs lose tonight, they the team from the AFC making the Super Bowl has a guaranteed shot at winning their first, right? Because I don't think the Bengals or the Bills have ever won. And then
I'd kind of love to see that too.
And then the NFC, you have like Matt Stafford getting his first actual playoff run, which is exciting. You have the scrappy like underdog 49ers out there putting up goose egg or making other teams put up like goose eggs or darn near close to it. I don't know. So I think we should spend the last couple of minutes talking about the game that's going on right now. The Bills Chiefs, it just started. The Bills actually just took a 7-0 lead on 4th down. They went for it on the goal line. Do you guys think the Bills continue this like dominance that they had in the first round of the playoffs? They absolutely kind of,
steal the Patriots.
Offensively, yes. Defensively, it's going to be tough. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game.
I think this week will be a good test as to like how great they are. We saw them steamroll the Patriots, but Mac Jones is a rookie quarterback. Like the Patriots are they do well with what they have, but they're limited in a lot of ways. If they can find a way to hold, I'm not saying like shut out the Chiefs because you can't shut out the Chiefs, but find a way to limit for the most part the amount of points the Chiefs are scoring with Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, and Travis Kelce, then I'll be very high on them. But they've looked good so far, and getting off to a 7-0 lead is something that's very important against a really high-power offense like Chiefs.
That could be very crucial if you're not watching. Tyrann Mathieu is going to the locker room with an injury. That could be a big blow to them on defense.
So do you guys think the Chiefs are kind of slept on? Because in my opinion, people kind of discounted the Chiefs this year, but they still ended up – they were one head-to-head like game difference, right? They lost to the Titans early in the year, but they finished with the same record as the 1 seed Titans. They had the same record, and people are talking about them like they're, they lost it. They still were 12-5, tied for best record in the AFC. Well, I think that, people kind of slept on them a little bit.
We had every reason to sleep on them, though, with the way they're performing and the way Mahomes is going. But we on this show, or just on our podcast in general, kept saying, like, it's just a matter of time before they wake up. I mean, they're the Chiefs. Yeah. And they had a really great they went on just an absolute tear. After they had those early losses, they figured things out, and they haven't looked back ever since. But I don't know, people are sleeping on them anymore. But I think people like us, or I guess myself, were quick to give him flack after they were doing so poorly early on. Mahomes did not look good, but he's turned it around, and here they are trying to get to an AFC championship.
One thing, too, I did want to talk about real quick is I remember last week specifically, Clack and I were on here talking about the wild card team, and I remember, Clack, you said that about the whole playoff expansion, like all the 7 seeds kind of got stomped. Well, this week, both teams with a bye lost, right? Like both 1 seeds lost to the lower seeds. So I think that kind of shows why I'm cool with like the more teams and stuff, like 7 seed playing the 2 seed, because it didn't happen this year, but this showed that like the lower seed does have a chance. They're a playoff team for a reason, and like any given Sunday is what they say, right? So I think that like it's only a matter of time before a 7 seed beats a 2 seed in round 1, and then we have a big, like thing about it.
Agreed.
Okay.
Do it.
Oh,
Go ahead. I was going to say, somebody go ahead. Do we want conference championship picks? Anybody?
So I will pick my Super Bowl picks right now. Without this game being over, I'm picking the Bills versus the Rams in the Super Bowl. I know that's honestly, I have a friend, a buddy who's a Rams fan. And he said the one team he didn't want to see was the 49ers, because the 49ers have kind of played really well against the Rams in recent memory.
1-6 in a row.
Yep. So
that's Chiefs and Rams.
Chiefs and Rams.
Yeah.
Joe?
Bills and Rams.
Okay, so you got the same. We're on the same wavelength here, but I don't know. Last week I said that the Bengals were my surprise upset team.
We both called that game.
Yeah, there's something about them Bengals. So I wouldn't be surprised if they put up a better fight. Like everyone's gonna be counting them out.
And there's something about that Ryan Tannehill's sucking.
Yeah, and guess what? If the Chiefs win this game, guess who already beat the Chiefs this year? Cincinnati Bengals.
Elijah Vera Tucker.
One random thought. I know you mentioned Jermaine Burton earlier, and this kind of popped in my head. I'm pretty sure last year Jamison Williams became the first player to lose the national championship for 2 different schools in back-to-back years. Do you think Jermaine Burton can become the first player to win 2 different national championships at 2 different schools in back-to-back years?
Break the curse we have going.
I mean, I don't think every other year is too bad. I would gladly take that for any sports franchise.
Yeah, but we're not every other sports franchise. We're Alabama, so we're spoiled.
That's true.
I don't know. I can't. Ever since you broke that news that Burton was transferring, I can't stop thinking about it and how much I miss football season already.
I agree, but basketball. Hey, we always got like NHL to look forward to.
We have a lot of exciting stuff coming up. That's for sure.
Yeah. So, do you guys have anything else before we call?
I don't.
That's it.
All right.
What a game. What a game.
Yeah, great Rams-Bucs game earlier, and this looks like it's going to be a good game as well. But, thank you for joining us. We'll be back here on the CTS on Thursday, us 3. I'll be here at 6 Central with Rolling with the Tide, and then we'll be here 7 Central with Bama Brigade, talking about all our Alabama football needs, and we'll be able to talk about Jermaine Burton a little bit more. And then next Sunday, same time, 5 p.m. Central, we'll be able to talk about the games that happened. And so we'll see you then. Peace.